Recording in progress.
All right, we'd like to welcome everybody to the West Haven Special Service District meeting. Today's the 20th of May, 2024. We will open today by doing the pledge. We're going to start with swearing in before we do anything else. So I'd like to welcome our new board member, Brent Warren. Welcome. And so we'll take care of that swearing in now. Emily?
Remember doing that? I'm sure I did.
I don't know, maybe we will.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Brent Warren, do solemnly affirm
I, Brent Warren, do solemnly affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Welcome. All right, so we'll move into the pledge. Well, before you sit down and get comfortable, we'll just stand. Please repeat the pledge after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, you're on there for the invocation. Is that okay?
Sure.
Great, thanks.
Our Father which art in heaven, we are indeed grateful for this beautiful day and for the moisture we've received. We're grateful for the springtime, and we ask that it blesses our city. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to meet as a West Haven Special Sewer District, and that we will do the things that are right and within our realm and follow the guidelines of district rules and all involved with everything in making these prominent decisions. We ask that those that work at the district will be blessed and watched over. They'll be safe, that our families will be safe, and that we'll be able to carry on a good meeting tonight. And we appreciate all the board members that are here and those that are giving of their time and effort to participate to help the city out. We're grateful again for all we have, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. We'll open up for public presentation, if anybody. I don't see anyone. So we will move into action items. Item 5. So we have A here, 2025 tentative budget review and approval. Do we have
Amy's online.
Amy? Hi, Amy.
Online.
Hello, Amy. Can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Do you want me to go ahead and present the tentative budget then?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right, would you like me to share my screen, or do you have a copy of it there to see?
Yeah, if you would share, please, that would be great. Yeah, we do not.
Okay, it actually says the host disabled participant screen sharing. If that could be enabled.
Try it now, Amy.
Okay. Okay, can you see this all right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and get on a print view here. So we've got a couple of things to discuss. So we have the 2025 budget, and then we also have We also have proposed amendments. So the 2025 budget as it stands, you can see over here in the left, right here in these columns, we have $3.5 million budgeted for total operating revenues. 3.4 million is the largest portion for the sewer fees. Our operating expenditures, we have budgeted at 3.8 million with a few new object codes right here in this area to kind of help us better keep track of detailed expenditures. Some of the larger expenses budgeted are the sewer treatment costs, and those are based on numbers given by Central Weber Sewer District. We also have the West Haven Services budget amount from your coordination with Sean and Sharice. So right now we've got that projected at 617,000. Number isn't 100% finalized, but I think we've got a pretty good estimate there. We've increased depreciation a little bit, and then we've also got sewer cleaning for 200,000. So those are your largest items. And a few of these have changed since our work meeting. I don't know if any of you have questions on these or had a chance to look through them prior to this meeting.
Everything looked fine to me when I went through.
Yeah, I looked at it. I didn't have any
I
questions.
went to the work.
but-
Yeah, I went to the work meeting. Everything looked fine, Amy, to me.
Okay, great. So we have a projected loss of $275,000. But we do have some non-operating revenues coming in, budgeting about $725,000. Sewer impact fees is a difficult target since it's a component of growth. So that might be a little low, but hopefully it will be higher as it comes in. And then interest is also high because of interest rates. But then we have some non-operating expenses, and these include your bond payments and then some capital outlay. We've added 2 new expense accounts since we talked last for land acquisition and the 2700 West Lift Station. These are just broken out. Sharice and John thought it might be easier to kind of keep track of these larger projects separate. But here's the grand total of your 2025 projects right here, 815,000. That's excluding the 4 million talked about earlier. But for your other capital outlay, here's the detail on those capital projects. And I don't believe there's much new here either. Might have increased. I don't remember exactly, John, if you remember what we've increased there, but the total is 815,000, and that comes up here to this capital outlay. We've described it as other to distinguish it from these 2 larger $1 million projects.
Yeah,
So that
I think them numbers are right. I
Go-
think the biggest thing we did was split out the land acquisition from our committee meeting. We just separated them all.
Makes
that
it
stuff
easier
out.
to track.
We did add the 80,000 to the sound wall. That one there was not on there when we met. That's to put the sound wall around 4450 with a wrought iron fence in front like we did on 4700. And in our project of doing 2700, we're going to do the same design so they all look the same. Same rock wall, sound wall, same fronts. Try to keep them all looking pretty uniform.
Is 4,700 done yet? The fence?
Yes.
It's all done?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so we'll start on that. You know, the 2700 project's our next big one, and so we'll be moving in that direction. That and some land acquisition. If we can do that, then in the future, we'll be looking at building a facility there.
What kind of truck replacement are you looking at?
Kind of what?
Truck replacement?
I'm probably gonna do this similar to the one that I got, the newer one that we just picked up. So we're gonna do away, Nate's is getting replaced, it's the little Ranger. So that one, still don't know if the city's interested in it or not, or where we're at with that.
What year is that, John? Do you remember?
It's a 19,
19.
19 or 20. I think it's a 19 though. No, I'm wrong. I don't know. I have, they're all right there, 18, 19. I can't remember which one was his. I think his is the 22 Ranger, 21 or 22 right in there.
Why are we replacing that one?
I've been rotating it so that we do one every 3 years on them trucks. So we hang on to them about 3 years. They just kind of get towards the end of their warranty, and that's when we've been replacing them.
You want to replace that with a full-size truck?
Yeah. And the price between them is not a huge difference in little ones, but, and that's up to debate. And what we replace it with is whatever the board feels. I mean, the smaller trucks are better on gas, and they're kind of, I liked the one when I had the smaller one because I could get in and out of projects, doing inspections and getting out into there pretty easy. It was kind of maneuverable. I noticed since I've got this little bigger one, there's been a few places where I'm like, man, I kind of missed that small one. But so it's totally whatever the board feels on those, and even how often we change them. That's just something we've really never discussed. We just have always, we were rotating the 2 trucks every other year. But then when we added the third and hired another guy, we just figured we can go out 3 years on them. And then they were replacing the Duramax, the larger truck, every 3 years. And there's no reason to be doing that one. But we're coming up on
Sells
almost
way
5
low
years
miles.
on that. But I see no point in even, we will want to look at that one maybe next year, but we want to do away with that truck, even that size, and go just a little bit bigger with a bigger utility bed service. It's just basically our service truck, but have it with a crane and everything on it so we can pull pumps and do different things, and we don't have to hire, Johnson Electric to come out just to pull a pump for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's down the road, but these others, that's how, I don't know, I guess that's something that's never really, we've discussed as a board, or you guys, and so that's totally, how often you want to change them out, what vehicles you want to look at, we'll comply with whatever. I've just been going off of what was set there when I got here, and it just kept going with it.
Yeah, I think the main thing is just following the market, and where we buy them on contract. We can buy them on contract and sell them on more retail. We do well, but it just kind of depends on the market too. And I think the market's still up.
Yeah.
But how are we addressing the loss that we have on the $279,000 overall? Have we looked at that for impact fees, or we?
Yeah. Do you know, Amy, where that 200 and that loss up above is?
Yeah, so it's actually,
It's got to be
the
impact.
bottom line, it's actually a $4.3 million loss. So let me show you where this will be taken from.
Well, that doesn't sound better.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go back
It
to
doesn't.
270.
Thanks a lot, Mayor.
It is a little bit bigger,
We had a good time.
taking from fund balance. But we've got, what you've got right now projected is, as of 12/31/2024, you've got projected 11.2 million unrestricted and 922 restricted. So we'll pull 861 from restricted to unrestricted, then we'll pull the loss, and then you'll have a remaining 7.7 million unrestricted left. So I think this 60,000 is like some prepaid or some non-spendables we have to kind of also reserve. So, I mean, you've kept quite a large balance over the years, but you will spend down those restricted amounts. As you can see, you won't be able to do a $4 million loss every year, right? But we've got the 7.7 million projected to work with after December 31st, 2025. It's a good way to look. The reason why we split out the operating loss is to kind of give you an idea of what the user fees are covering and your operating expenditures or your day-to-day expenses. So you can see that that's a fairly, you might want to keep an eye on that. And we've been kind of watching that year to year. For 2024, you're estimated to have a positive a gain on your operating. So that's good. But again, you've got some big capital projects here that'll have to be funded by using fund balance.
Yeah, I think my only concern would be we have, when our new budget takes over, we'll have another increase from the Central Weber Sewer District, as we talked about before. So we'll have a 13% increase this year on that. So was that budgeted for? So that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we took that into account.
Okay.
So that would be in your operating. That's right here in 4010.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we were ahead of that. It's interesting
that's a good
because
question.
the way that works is because they charge the municipalities. If we have new people come on and they take on that process, then we all of a sudden, we gain that from the fees that are collected. Mm-hmm. But they just charge the municipality a flat rate for whatever increases they see that they need from that. So I expect in the future that they may, I'll call it, may wake up a little bit on that with municipalities and start to say, we're going to charge more for whatever usage is actually being done. So if West Haven grows 1,000 people next month and Washington Terrace grows 2, they're still going to get the same type of increase that'll hit the municipalities. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. So they're probably going to have to adjust that somehow in the future, and it'll affect us if we're growing. Mm-hmm.
So they bill that by population, not by, I don't know if they can control or determine the flow going into them from these locations, from us or anyone else.
They haven't been able to meter it well.
Okay.
But they have estimations that they do. But it's a tough game right now. They bring in a lot, and then with any new businesses or some of these big businesses they'll be bringing in, it'll increase the flows a lot. But the increases, instead of doing and I'm on the finance committee too, but the project is that we needed to increase it 24% over the next 3 years. So do you drop a 24% with the truth in taxation and see how that flies when we got an economy that's not great?
Yeah.
Or we requested that we spread it out over 3 years, which is sometimes a little irritating to people. Sometimes it's a one and done and you just forget about it for a couple of years. But under this circumstance, a 13 to 8% increase per year might be easier for people to handle as they're going through the process. So that's what was chosen.
Yeah, that's a good point to keep in mind that your costs are rising, and right now we're keeping the fees the same.
We haven't changed our rates for a long time, and
I think they're still the original ones, aren't they?
I think it's
so.
the same.
And so as these expenses keep going up and up, we're getting to where. But we went out at one time to do a rate study, and the company that come in said, with the amount of money that we have in that reserve, that 10 million, whatever it was, $11 million, they're like, you can't raise your rates because you're not in the business of making money. So you need to use that up, get some capital projects. Don't lose that money by giving free sewer out. Let's utilize the money to get some projects done that we need to do. So we need to be smart with that money, but we're in the process of doing another study, rate study now, and we're kind of seeing a little bit of that. But we do have some projects on there, so they're taking that into consideration, just because we may need to raise ours a little bit. I think we even have a hard time passing along the increase from Central Weber. I asked, well, we shouldn't be having to, we can't, if they keep raising theirs, it isn't us raising our rates if we just pass that on, that portion on, and I think I was talking with, Amy and, yeah, and I think there's something legal we're still looking at and all that, whether or not we can do it. So, that's all in the works, and we're still trying to figure out how we're gonna do it, but we obviously can't keep our rate the same as it's been over the last 25 years or whatever it's been.
Well, it puts us in an odd situation. We need to spend money to add money.
To raise money, to increase things, so,
It sometimes doesn't make sense, but in reality, like you said, you can't hold funding.
yeah.
So we need to get these projects and utilize some of that money to benefit the city and benefit the district. So
Right. Yeah, we don't want to lose it by just not charging for sewer for 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, residents might like it, but they won't if the infrastructure and the upgrades that we need aren't getting done either, so.
So John, you'd mentioned in the past about looking into getting a pump truck. Is that on there? Did I miss it?
It's
or-
not. The
Okay,
reason
said
why I
that.
haven't got it on there is because I don't have anywhere to house that vehicle. And we're talking a $700,000 or $800,000 truck, and a camera van's probably $250,000, $300,000. And I just don't, it's not something I want to leave outside. And so that land acquisition is to try to get some ground so we can hopefully get a building facility going that will house that. So I look at that 7 million and what the kind of the amount that we've already hit it with 4 million this year or whatever, and I'm thinking, we're gonna have to figure this out, because a building will eat up 7 million in a hurry. The land may eat up most of that 2 million, it may not. I mean, we hope we can get it cheaper than that, and we end up being able to build some kind of a facility that will house the equipment, but that equipment's not cheap. So we are seeing that when we take this to the people that are doing our survey right now and our master plan, they're like, okay, you definitely got this money. You've got a way to get rid of it. You've got a way to utilize the money in a positive way. So, but we'll just have to see where we're at, whether that building happens, next year or 2 years or 5 years, I don't know. And maybe it will be 5 years. Maybe we don't do a couple of projects for a couple of years to recuperate some of that. I don't know where we'll be, but we need to move in that direction for sure. And we might be able to find a place to house the truck, and we can get that if we can get with Public Works or however, and find a bay or somewhere where we can at least keep it in, and we could probably go ahead and maybe just do that and hold off on the building.
I think Board Member Jensen has some room over at his place. You could keep it there.
You got a big shop, big garage?
Yeah.
24 by
They're
24.
very big, man. They take a lot of room.
I'll just kick everything out, bring it all over.
So, yeah, that's the direction, and we need to get one. It's crazy, and I thought that when I came out here, I was like, man, a sewer district that doesn't have a flush truck for backups? You're just relying solely on outsourcing on an emergency? That's crazy, the amount of time it takes for them to get here. So it's a push of mine to get it here, and at that point, we may be even looking at hiring another guy or 2 guys, I don't know, so we can do some cleaning and keep it running. And we don't want to run it to death. They're way maintenance expensive, but it'll be nice to do some light cleaning that'll cut back on our cleaning bill and lower that budget, as well as we'll have it for an emergency, and that's where it's most critical, in my opinion, that we respond to those quickly.
That one that come in and did the storm drain on our property, that was through the storm drain. It wasn't through the sewer district though, right, on that one?
No, that's storm drain, yeah. No, the truck, you mean?
Right, I mean, to do that, because if the sewer district bought the truck and had the truck, that wouldn't be, I mean, it could be used for that within the
Absolutely
city.
could. And if there was a backup in the storm drain on the city side of things and the Public Works asked us to use it, I would probably say, yeah, well, let's get it
Right.
plugged. You know what I mean?
Right.
If it was an emergency. As far as utilizing it for just straightly just cleaning storm drains, no, I don't see that we'd have to. But for a plug or a backup,
Sure.
if they needed something cambered, I mean, there's definitely some uses that the
Right.
city would have, would be able to utilize it.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a problem. We share a lot of different equipment. We don't own a backhoe, but we use theirs. So we definitely would be a benefit to the city as well.
Yeah, good.
They just have to clean it,
That's right,
the truck.
that's right.
All right, anything else, Amy?
No, that's it for the 2025 budget. I don't know if we need to do anything different before we moved on to the 2024 amendments. Can we just roll right into that, or
Yep,
does the motion need to be made on the tentative budget?
probably, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Probably do.
let's do, I'll entertain a motion about the tentative budget review and approval.
I'll make a motion for the tentative approval for the 2025 budget.
I'll second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Great. Let's see, so where is that? Oh, amending, okay. So
Yeah, so
I
here's where we're, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, so item B is to set a public hearing for the purpose of finalizing, adopting, and amending the 2024 budget. So this would just be an item of discussion here of the
Oh, okay.
budget. Amending of the 2024, right?
Okay,
Well, we have to.
and
set a
then
public
the
hearing for that.
full amendment will probably happen next month.
Yeah, it'd be like maybe around June 10th. Because you have to also look for, we got Juneteenth. So, and I think we have to have it, we couldn't wait till the next month. We have to do it this month to get our, is that correct, everyone?
That's
Yeah, and then, because the item B does include both the finalizing 2025 as well as amending 2024, so.
You're right, so yeah, that'll be in June.
Yeah, so where do we, so I guess, let's figure out when we can do a public hearing here for that.
Wouldn't you do it the 17th?
Our next meeting.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
We have West Haven Days starting that night.
Oh,
We might have to move our board meeting earlier.
Yeah, I'd probably recommend maybe that.
Do we have enough time to move it to the 10th?
yeah, you do have enough time.
Okay. I guess we'll entertain a motion to try to move our meeting from the 17th to the 10th, as well as to set the public hearing for the adopting of the 2025 budget and amending the 2024 budget. You have a motion?
I'll make a motion to change our meeting time from June 17th to June 10th. For item B, set a public hearing for purpose of finalizing and adopting the 2025 budget and amending the 2024 budget. Is that correct?
I'll second that.
Great, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. So we'll do that. So Amy, is that okay if we cover that then?
Sure, that's great.
Okay, and if,
What time? 7:30, 6:30?
yeah,
Normal
same time,
Okay.
6:30. So yeah, if you could send us out some of those amendments and stuff, that would be great. If it wasn't already included in that packet we got today, I guess. I didn't see it.
Okay. Okay, we'll make sure you got a chance to look at those ahead of time before the next meeting, so.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Amy.
All right, thank you. Need anything else from me tonight?
Oh, I think that is all that I see your name on. So yeah, enjoy your evening.
Okay,
Thanks,
sounds
Amy.
good. Thank you.
Amy, will that date work for you? No.
June. Yeah, we'll make it work. So, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
sorry, I didn't even think to ask her. We're like, see ya. All right, item C, proposed resolution 03-2024 interlocal agreement between West Haven Special Service District and West Haven City for reimbursement for certain costs incurred by the city on behalf of the district. And Sean, do you want to talk to that? Thanks. Welcome.
Well, thank you for entertaining this item on your agenda. Just by way of background, in the late 90s, early 2000s, the city and the district had an interlocal agreement, and it was a 5-year agreement which lapsed. The purpose of the agreement back in those early days was to define the relationship in terms of contribution. As you know, the city employs personnel that the district uses and city facilities, and really that's the purposes of interlocal agreement, is two political subdivisions of the state coming together to provide and find mutual benefit in some kind of arrangement or relationship, which we believe that this is one of those relationships. So that said, it does need to be something that does benefit the district, and so as you local, you want to make sure that you're looking out for your interest as a group and as a public entity. And so one of the things, I think there's two items that I wanted to bring your attention to. First, I would tell you that the interlocal is proposed for a 5-year term. One of Article 4, I would draw your attention to. This is something that was not included in the original interlocal agreement, but we think it's prudent to have, which defines how we would operate some of the district's responsibilities as city employees. And so this section in Article 4 defines and gives authority for the city employees to manage the budget, to share equipment from time to time. That was discussed by John. It also talks about those employees that are with the city would attend the board meetings to provide support for you as a board. It defines how city employees would be supervised, training, and operational judgment. So those provisions, I think, give more detail and definition to how the two entities would work together. And so I'd want you to feel comfortable about what you're seeing in those paragraphs. The other significant item to draw your attention to is Attachment A. And the original interlocal agreement that I referenced earlier, it actually had an Attachment A, but it didn't have any details in Attachment A. It was all blank. That said, I think during that period up until now, the district's been making a contribution, and I'm not always sure exactly how those percentages were arrived at. But in talking to Amy Davies, we looked at the historical costs and vetted those, and in some cases, we decided that we'd eliminate some of those line items for specifically an attorney legal fee. City has Amy Hughey, who provides our legal services. And in talking to Charisse, she felt like, and whether you've had these conversations or not, I'm not certain, but that potentially you would want to have your own attorney, or felt like maybe that would be appropriate. As it relates to this, I would tell you that Amy helped to draft it. There was another attorney that actually reviewed it on your behalf, a conflict attorney. And so in some cases, having a different legal counsel would help to eliminate some conflicts. There was, I'm trying to think of another item that we eliminated that didn't see appropriate. It escapes me at the moment. But otherwise, we feel like these items are appropriate for the district to participate in. You'll see that employees are generally billed out at 100%, with the exception of the utility clerk, which is contemplated to be 80% of their total compensation. And the 80% is reflective of the 20% of the time that employee spends conducting city business related to typically garbage and storm drain. And so that's why that number is less than 100%. I would tell you also that there wasn't a lot of specific methodology. I think there's a footnote on your attachment A just to disclose that some of these percentages that are being proposed in this version of the interlocal are just based upon historical percentages that the district has participated. There wasn't a lot of analysis that went into allocating those costs. We can make an agreement as complicated or simple as we think would be appropriate. But in my experience, sometimes going into really specific methodology just creates a lot of complexities and doesn't really arrive at something that's appropriate. But that said, that's part of what your discussions and deliberations are about, is wanting you to feel like this is an appropriate arrangement. There are cases where those costs are hard to quantify, and so so for those purposes, we've left them at the 10%. So one thing that also is a change that would bring your attention to is it is being proposed that you would actually budget in your budget the cost associated with generating and mailing out bills. And so that cost had historically been within the city's budget, but what's being proposed, instead of you reimbursing the city, those expenses would be budgeted within your own budget. And so, one of the mutual, I told you that there's mutual benefits for both entities. One of the benefits that's being proposed and contemplated in that arrangement is, you would need to bill and generate a bill and mail out that bill. And so the city is benefiting from essentially adding those line items, what our expenses are, to that bill without any cost. So I'd want you to know that as well. And I think that's potentially a footnote as well within that attachment. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything else that we need to disclose. In saying that, I would draw your attention to one item that I think is important, but I think is appropriate and necessary, which is this operational judgment exercise clause. And it just makes clear that, that city employees, will need to make decisions that happen from time to time. And those decisions are decisions we just need to live by. And they'll do their best to make, use reasoned judgment. But nonetheless, the interlocal agreement acknowledges that that's the situation, and that's something that you would be, consenting to by adopting this agreement. So I think it's understood, but maybe it's now written down, within this agreement. So.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Just so I've got a clear mind, and sometimes that's kind of a difficult thing. That's item D on number 8. Is that not correct? The $44,938, that's part of the rents and the things, utilities and the payroll. So the $45,000, the $45,000 a month is what that's for, what that budget's
Sounds
for.
right.
Are you talking about the billing costs?
Well, I'm just, on the budget there, the monies that we reimburse the city back is part of that $45,000 a month.
Okay.
It's listed as administrative services paid to West Haven City.
Yes, I believe that's correct. It amounts to, at least in the tentative budget, what's anticipated to be $617,000.
Yeah.
So the monthly expense.
You'd be about right. Yep.
I figured 539, so yeah, round it
This
up.
was all discussed during that work meeting.
Okay,
So,
okay.
So I assume that as I was reading through that, I noticed about like the decisions made by the city and stuff like that. John, I'm assuming a lot of times you're there with them, or that you're involved in those decisions, right? A lot of them are not seat of their pants decisions, right? It's usually something that we're involved with too, most of the time, right? I just didn't know if there was any examples of where that's happened, that we were kind of surprised by something that
Yeah.
okay.
I,
I don't, we pretty much, you know, the city, we work so close with them, and there's any decision that doesn't get done without us going through the attorneys and financing and everything else to make sure that we're in the right path there.
yeah. I think what's really contemplated here is in the field decisions, that John would need to make by virtue of having to operate a system. Administratively, I think, I might get a question from time to time, but generally speaking, those administrative, items that relate to the operation would come before the board. I might be more involved in administrative decisions related to employees and personnel, which is anticipated and written within the agreement, but you'll still retain, all the control that you should have as a board, a governing board for a special service district.
Yeah, that was kind of my assumption, was that maybe there was something done in the past that kind of made this stand out to me, or something, that kind of drew my attention there is all. So obviously, most of the employee stuff would go through John, I'm assuming, unless there was a time when he was gone or a situation you need to handle in that case. And that's why this wording is there, right?
It is. And,
Yeah.
I would say that this hasn't been a problem, practically speaking, but, agreements always anticipate documenting and sort of defining the relationship. The language was something that I proposed, and it was born out of an agreement and arrangement that I had previously been involved with in my previous city, between two cities working together with law enforcement. And so that was sort of the basis of it. And again, we had one chief that was administering two departments, essentially, was the context.
Okay, great.
And Teresa and I went through it a number of different times. It's not that far off from what we had, other than our old one had expired forever.
Yeah.
So it brought that current, as well as some of the other changes and stuff that made the wording and everything better. So it was done well.
Yeah. Sharice had mentioned to me about the legal counsel, getting our own attorney to represent us in case there was ever something between the city and us that.
We'll look at that more to probably, it'll just be under professional services, because we'll probably just use like a retainer on somebody. We're not gonna hire somebody. Does that make sense? We're not gonna bring in an attorney and hire him with an annual contract. We're gonna we have the line item for legal services, and we'll just have a firm that we will work with when we need them. Because we don't always need them, we don't utilize, that's not something. There's, like, through these processes and some of our budget, we've been utilizing it. But there's just some situations where going over some of the rules and regulations that apply to a district are so much different than a city, that there's some language in there that Amy has a hard time with, because it's not stuff she's dealt with. And she's mentioned that as well. There was also a deal, if there was ever a rare time when the district and the city disagreed on something and there was a lawsuit between them, her contract is that she would absolutely support the city. She cannot support the district. So there's just some things that we need to make sure that we have legal presence there. And so we're gonna go the other way and just do a firm, get maybe a retainer with them, however that works out, to where they can just provide us legal services as we need them and bill hourly type of deal.
Yeah, great. You were talking about the mailing, us handling the mailing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that our bill comes with some city things too, right? And so now we're just flipping it from the city to us. And we budgeted for that, and
I think there's 30,000 in the budget for mailing.
That's already in.
and then do we bill some back to the city to recoup some of that portion from us? Okay.
Well, that's not what's being proposed in this agreement. It would be that you as a sewer district have a bill that you would send out, and the city's benefit would be to add our line items. You know, we do what's being, you know, further, as we talked about, explained in here, is that the city would pay the personnel costs, but just not the mailing cost and, you know, the generation, the printing cost for the bill.
Okay, so I assume that's the 20% of Sharice's.
That would be for her, her salary and that.
Yeah.
She spends billing out for garbage and stormwater and stuff.
Yeah, and so I assume, John, that because obviously you're responsible for the district's finances, you know, really it kind of ends up with you to kind of balance that. So I'm assuming that you've looked at this and you're okay with all the numbers as far as the engineer time and, you know, that it's kind of split 50-50 and.
On the engineering as far as that 50-50, how much the city utilizes. We utilize, it's almost probably 50-50 when we look at it.
Yeah.
There isn't a project that goes on if you don't have some kind of sewer, you don't have some say in it. Manholes, he does a lot of different things. Carter does too. We deal with our mapping, our SCADA, you know, where our lines are at, our GIS stuff. They're pretty busy with us, so I still feel like that's good. It may be something we'll look at in the future, but right now I still feel like that's probably a good number.
Okay, good. Yeah, because obviously, you know, we're.
45, you know, 45, 55, but it's so close that it's not worth looking at right now.
Right.
If development slows down, some of the projects get slower, we get our GIS all up and going a lot better than it is now. Maybe we do not use them that much, I don't know. That's something we'll look at down the road.
Yeah, that's great. I just wanted to make sure that we were good there and we all felt comfortable with that. And obviously this is almost like a brother against brother, right? We're all in the same family and we're all shooting for the same goals, but we kind of have to watch out for the district side as far as the board here. And so we're asking some weird questions that really, you know, it's like, yeah, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul or something, but yeah.
Chair Beasley, I think one way to look at it is we're all on the same team, right?
Yep.
We're all on the same team. We all wear the same uniforms, just a little different responsibilities. But the district is a separate entity.
Yep.
And so that's the important part, is that we try and keep the expenses the best that we can separated between the city, because if there was ever anything that happened to the district or the city, you don't want to have both of them, you know, have difficulties with that. So separating that. And I do think, and Emily, I'll call on you for just a second, but I don't think there's anything else we're sending out in the sewer bills, are we?
No, because we're not doing the newsletter anymore. It's all digital.
Yeah,
It has
so
been for
we
3
did take
months.
away the, you know, because the city looked at the cost of the letter, you know, the letters that we were sending out, and it was quite expensive to get involved in the mailing and everything that was involved with it. So we decided to just go digital, and as we get our website done here in the next few months, we'll have that on there a little bit better, and it'll be nice to, you know, have those out there. But you'll still have some items that may need to be shipped out or something in that, but I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, that was kind of my, and I hadn't been paying attention really, or really seen anything that mentioned it was going digital. So yeah, I just overlooked that. But that's what I was thinking was the.
Yeah, the residents didn't want to see my face on a picture anymore, so they rebuked against that.
Yeah.
Stop sending those pictures.
Yeah, that's great.
Mr. Chair, I'd just bring your attention to that this agreement, you know, even though it's a 5-year term, if both parties agree that we should amend it, we certainly can. So, you know, I think the general climate is that, you know, the city, we want to be fair. So if we got further down to the process, you can always request an amendment, and we just, you know, discuss it and have both bodies, you know, consider what seems to be fair. So the other thing, let me just draw your attention to one last thing, because it's a little unusual. It's probably better for you just to be aware. You know, it does anticipate for operational convenience and efficiencies that, you know, either entity could benefit from equipment, you know, used. And so obviously these are all city employees that would be using the equipment. But if there was an accident involving a piece of equipment that the city owned and was using on, you know, to benefit the district, like a backhoe, and that employee, was at fault, the city's insurance would pay for it, the deductible. And the same is true in, vice versa. You would pay the deductible if it was your piece of equipment, and it was, damaged, and we filed a claim. So just so you're aware of how that's contemplated.
That's really good, Sean.
So John, make sure when they borrow our stuff, they are taking good care of it, huh?
Yeah.
Not popping wheelies on the backhoe.
Send the operator with.
We probably use their equipment more than they use ours.
Yeah.
I imagine that jet truck, a clean truck would definitely be an interest to them. And it may be something to where, we'll work something out. But I don't foresee, like I said, it's not gonna be that they use it to clean, it's gonna be for an emergency. It
Yeah.
might be ran by the trained people that I've sent, whether it's Nate or whoever is gonna go to the training on the vehicle and understand it, it'll probably be ran by one of them guys.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, these make sense, right? The interlocal agreements to be able to get stuff done, and yeah, like Mayor said, we're on the same team. Let's just make the city better, and that's what we're here for.
Right there, is serve the public the best we can.
Yeah,
Get it back in operation.
they do make sense. So yeah, thanks for updating this. And
Yeah, thank you for your
so is
consideration.
there any other questions for Sean?
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Let's see, Dewey. Are we approving this, or what do we have to do here? Do we have
Number
to
C
do
or
we have to
D?
do this on a? Was this just a proposal?
It's an action item, I
Okay,
think.
so we're actually gonna. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution 03-2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed resolution 03-2024, the interlocal agreement between West Haven Special Service District and West Haven City.
Got a motion? Second? Anyone?
I second the motion.
Great, thank you. Let's do a roll call on this. Mayor Vanderwood,
Aye.
Brent,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Dale,
Aye.
James.
Aye.
I'll also vote aye. Great, thank you. Thanks for your work there, Sean. All right, item D, a fraud hotline volunteer to replace Curtis. Any volunteers here? So as far as I understand, if I remember right, and Emily, you may not know, Sharice was kind of heading this up too, but you probably do. I think we just had a number that they call in and it would forward to him, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So he's not, his number wasn't out there or anything like that. It was just in case there was somebody that suspected some fraud going
Yeah.
on within the
It's
district.
anonymous tip, right? If I remember right.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't. Nobody wants to do it. I'll do it. How's that?
Okay. Great.
I think
We have a
you're up
volunteer.
at 3 a.m, aren't you?
Yeah. Sucker.
Exercising. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't tell you how many calls he got.
Just leave his phone number on there. You'll take it. You just leave his number.
I mean, Curtis had to leave the country because of it.
yeah, Curtis left because of it.
Oh, I'll know better next time, won't I?
We're gonna hurry and move on to item 6, staff report. John.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Great, thanks. Sean, you got anything else for us? Okay, super. All right, item 7, Central Weber update. Mayor Vanderwood?
Yes, I did leave the meeting a little early tonight just so I could be here for this, but they were still going on strong when I left. But so obviously there's some things over there that they're getting completed. That Hooper pipeline, that big one, that they finished that one finally, and they were excited. They got a $700,000 credit back on that one from overage, so that was a pretty big deal for them overall. They also they approved, which I thought we'd done already, but they approved of the, and I know Sharice is big on this and some other people, but the Highland Ranch and Aspire Point annexations, those were approved, and they've been sitting there for a long time waiting for the city to get those taken care of. They approved them for sure, and so everything's done with that.
Good.
But now we're just waiting for everybody to get caught up with it. So There'll still be some of that. Then the budget was talked about. There's been some changes on that. They ended up adding 2 people over there. So now they got 36 employees over there. And the other part too, I think that was interesting is that they've had an increase over last year's budget of 18.1%. And almost all of it was due to chemicals and transfer of different items over there. So I thought that was interesting that the chlorine that they typically use, they're converting over to UV. They'll be utilizing that throughout this next year, and they'll be combining that with the UV until they get everything figured out on how they're going to transfer that over. So we probably really won't see true UV till the end of 2025, just so you know. And the power increase was another big increase for them because they're running more equipment over there and more filters. They too are holding their public hearing on the budget on June 10th, and they have to wait until 6 o'clock to run it to be legal. Our meeting's at 6:30, so hopefully if there's no public meeting, we should be no problem for just my attendance, which doesn't matter that much, but I'll be here. And I think that eventually we'll have to set it up too for our truth and taxation if we're doing anything. But I don't think we have anything that we're doing, so we're good to go with that. So anyway, that was pretty much the gist of, to keep it short, that was pretty much it over there. There's a lot of changes going on over there, and lots going down with that place over there. So, but they're getting projects done. They're still working on the $85 million project, and they're about halfway through that one. So it'll be interesting to see how that all goes. Thank you.
How are they looking? We've got a little surplus here, and so taking when we see a $4 million in our budget items, we get a little nervous. But even though we've got some reserve to cover that, how do they look?
So I think they're looking good, but they have bonds. They have lots of bonds out there. That's a big difference. We don't bond for much, and I don't know, just as a recommendation as a board member, I think that's something, we really do need to look at spending money. I'm probably super conservative when it comes to most everything that I do in my life and everything, but if you've got money in there, you can't just continue to store. They have bonded out lots of funding on projects that they need for advancement. I think the same thing with us. The land acquisition thing, I think, is huge for our district. I think, getting and obtaining equipment and personnel to run that would be a big thing. But we also have to look at, potential expansions down the road. Are we going to expand something? We don't know if we're going to in the future, but, there's those options out there. So I think trying to just look farther ahead and plan for, the board looking to spend some of that money might be good. And then even though a raise in, it hasn't gone up, I think it's still, $36? I think it's $33. Yeah, I guess my wife pays that bill, but
it's 36 with the.
I think it is 36. But overall, it's about the same as it has been, and it's not like I don't think it's going to go up a lot. But if we did increase it, we'd have some more funding to start building up some for another project. Sure. But it's kind of crazy. These guys raise it up. I think the last big one we were talking about that was 2012, and they had a big increase. This time, we probably wouldn't raise ours very often either, but we have to look at projects down the road too. So
yeah. And I would think we'd probably be better off raising a little bit more so you wouldn't have to do it as often, whatever you can do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's difficult. So, okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Item 8, our consent agenda. We have items A through J. Are there any questions on any of those items?
There was. John, I was going to ask you, on the paperwork that we have here with Gardner Engineering, is there a way that we could use Paul Ackerson more than we could Ryan Christensen? He's $2 cheaper an hour, okay? Just kidding, I just wanted to. Okay, I just saw that, and I just thought, you know.
Looked like he was keeping his nose out of there as much as he could, but every once in a while he does take it, get in there. So.
Yeah, so anyway, I just saw that, and I just.
I noticed that too.
But I think Ryan Christensen takes coupons.
Oh.
Rumor.
Yeah. All right. If there's no other questions, or if anybody does speak up, but if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
You can do it, Dale?
I'll make a motion that we approve number 8, the consent agenda A through J.
I second that.
Great. Thanks. We have a motion and a second. We'll take a roll call here. James?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
Brent?
Aye.
Mayor?
Aye.
And I'll also vote aye. Item 9, adjournment. Entertain a motion.
You want to entertain the motion of adjournment? How's that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Brent, welcome.
Good job.
Thanks, this is kind of